Honorable members, prayers. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic. Endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of government, this land and people may be well and truly served, and their good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. Amen. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair as it might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service and honor shall be given to the deserving, a country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people, that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honorable members, I have 3 communications, or I might say messages from His Excellency the President, addressed through me to the House. Whilst we were on recess, he's constitutionally mandated to do so. And since we were not available, I couldn't deliver them on his behalf to the House. I have the first one dated 29th April 2022. And it reads, Mr. Speaker, absence from Parliament. In accordance with Article 59 of the Constitution, I write to inform you that I will be traveling outside the country to Washington, D.C., United States of America, in the evening of Monday, 2nd May 2022, at the invitation of Harry Hargrave, Chief Executive Officer, Museum of the Bible, to deliver the inaugural tenure lecture of the Museum of the Bible National Day of Prayer on 5th May 2022. I will return to Ghana in the morning of Saturday, 7th May 2022. During my absence, the Vice President, Alhaji Dr. Mahmudu Bawumia, shall, in accordance with Article 68 of the Constitution, act in my stead. Yours sincerely and best wishes, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. The second is dated 8th May 2022, and it reads, Mr. Speaker, absence from Ghana. In accordance with Article 59 of the Constitution, I write to inform you that I will be traveling outside the country in the evening of Sunday, 8th May 2022, to Abidjan, capital of the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire, at the invitation of His Excellency President Alassane Ouattara, to participate in the Heads of State Summit on Drought and Sustainable Land Management within the framework of COP15 of the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, to be held on 9th May 2022 in Abidjan. I will return to Ghana in the evening of Monday, 9th May 2022. During my absence, the Vice President, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, shall, in accordance with Article 68 of the Constitution, act in my stead. Yours sincerely, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. The third and the last is dated 11th May 2022 and reads, Mr. Speaker, absence from Ghana. In accordance with Article 59 of the Constitution, I write to inform you that I will be traveling outside the country in the evening of Wednesday, 11th May 2022, to Abuja, capital of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, at the invitation of Mr. Samaila Zubairu, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Africa Finance Corporation, to attend as a special guest speaker the AFC Live 2022, the Infrastructure Solutions Summit, scheduled to be held on 12 May 2022. I will return to Ghana in the evening of Thursday, 12 May 2022. During my absence, the Vice President, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, shall, in accordance with Article 68 of the Constitution, act in my stead. Yours sincerely and best wishes, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. These three messages are from His Excellency the President in compliance with the constitutional requirements. Honourable members, we move to item 3, which is a formal communication from my good self, after which I'll give the opportunity to leaders to also make some remarks. Honourable members, with great pressure and high expectations, I welcome you back from the recess of the first meeting of the second session of the 8th Parliament. You are all most welcome. I will then have to draw your attention to the agenda of this meeting. Honourable members, you all have a fair sense of the state of security in the country and the mood of the people. I don't need to tell you the implications on the nation and on each and every one of us. You are also aware of the recent decisions and directives of the Supreme Court and other courts of competent jurisdiction in a number of cases that affects the way we conduct affairs in this House. We may disagree with their decisions, but we are bound by those decisions and have to comply and obey. We've been called upon by those decisions to take action, to review the composition of this House and the procedures of doing business in the House. The earlier we do that, the better for all of us and the country. Honourable members, we definitely cannot do this alone. Other stakeholders will have to be given the opportunity to assist us to do so. Consequently, in consultation with the leadership of the House, Parliament has decided to create a platform for our partners in academia, legal and governance practitioners to lead a more focused, detailed discussion on the implications and the effects of the decisions on the procedure and practice of Parliament and the relationship between the judiciary and the legislature. Such a national discourse will provide valuable inputs to enable Parliament to revise and refine our rules, laws, and standing orders to comply with the provisions of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. Honorable members, as part also of the agenda of this meeting and the rest of the session, Parliament will dedicate more attention to its oversight function. While we continue to put in all legal efforts and processes to consolidate the strengthening of the institution of Parliament and the empowerment of members to perform their duties and responsibilities effectively and responsively, in this second session, we will take further vigorous steps to strengthen the hand of the House to hold government and state institutions accountable to the people for the power, trust, resources, and hope reposed in them. The Executive President, assisted by Cabinet and state institutions, shall be called upon to account for the stewardship of the country. This year, this is the area Parliament will focus on, and next year we'll go to consolidate our efforts on representation. Last year, we spent some efforts trying to strengthen the institution of Parliament, including the staff, and provide the necessary facilities to support members to perform their function. This is the program that is being laid out for our attention. Honorable members, to succeed to implement this agenda, Parliament itself must be open, transparent, and accountable to the people. As the saying goes, charity begins at home. As the constitutional and legal head of the institution of Parliament, the spokesperson, the arbitrator, and grantor of its authority, independence, and privileges, are pledged to lead this effort by example. I will, together with leadership, initiate discussions with relevant state actors to put in place measures and systems to ensure that all members and staff of Parliament complies with the Declaration of Asset Regulations, tax obligations, and honor on time all outstanding issues of overpayment and underpayment reported on by the Auditor General from 2001 to 2008 and 2009 to 2016, will ensure that they are all retired and settled by whoever is affected without any further delay. Sooner than later, members will be informed through the usual channels about how this will be done. But the proposal is to put a team in place to liaise with the state and non-state actors to smoothen the compliance and implementation of these initiatives. Honorable members, it's important for us to erase the perception of the public on these matters of overpayments, which are wrongly being politically called double salaries. It's a weakness of the system, and all the presidential committees have commented on these matters. And it is from the experience from 1993 up to date, which has led to some of these unfortunate overpayments, because of the movement of members of parliament from just an ordinary member of parliament to becoming a deputy minister or minister, and the movement of documentation to be able to capture it. Sometimes you have this overlap, or movement of members to other functions. And definitely, as an experienced member of parliament, what members do is to call their bank and ask, do I have some money in the account? Once the bank says no, you are issuing a check for some activity in your constituency or to support a member or student that needs the help of the member of parliament. That is what we go through. You don't go asking whether this is your salary or this is an allowance or this is whatever. And so these are overpayments as a result of the weakness of the system. Not that members intentionally will go around taking double salaries. And we need to put this to rest in order to position ourselves properly to be able to do our work. And I intend, with the support of leadership and the Parliamentary Service Board, to do this with dispatch. Leadership of the House, the Parliamentary Service Board, and the Speaker will continue to deepen and widen the scope of the already cordial relationship between the judiciary and the legislature. As arms of government, Ghanaians expect nothing from us than to see us work in harmony to the betterment of their lives and the development of the country. Honourable members, I will also take this opportunity to bring to your attention the unfinished agenda of the first meeting of this session. There is a lot of business that are still outstanding. Private members' business, government business, and parliamentary business. And we have to get these completed in this meeting. I urge the majority leader and the leader of government business, who also doubled as the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, members and the table office, led by the clerk, to pursue these things with zeal and enthusiasm. These outstanding businesses must be brought before the House for due consideration. Honourable members, in the meantime, what is still in the draft legislative program for this second meeting of the second session, and which has been made available to me, includes the following. There are a number of agreements, there are a number of motions to be moved for resolutions, there are a number of due bills to be introduced by government. Private members' bills are also ready, a number of them, and I must commend the members that have decided to sponsor these bills. With the facilitation of the Parliamentary Service, these bills are now ready for presentation. And I'll just mention a few of them and direct the clerk to make copies of the agenda available to all members of Parliament. You need to know what is there for us for this meeting and, in fact, the next meeting. These bills include the following: the Conduct of Public Officers Bill, Contracts Amendment Bill, the Ghana Industrial Property Bill, Intestate Succession Bill, and the Notaries Public Amendment Bill. We have many more, such as the National Sugar Industry Development Board Bill, the Ghana Road Fund Amendment Bill, the Petroleum Revenue Management Amendment Bill, the Ghana Roads Authority Bill, the Local Government Authority Bill, and many other bills available for our consideration. Additionally, some subsidiary legislations will have to be introduced. They include the Civil Proceedings, Fees and Allowances Amendment Rules, Companies Regulations, Compensation for Acquitted Persons Rules, Copyright Regulations, and the Council of State Staff Regulations. The others are the Ghana Industrial Designs Regulations, Judicial Service Regulations, Legal Aid, Commission Regulations, Legal Profession Enrollment Amendment Regulations, and the Plant Variety Protection Regulations. To the best of my knowledge, the Attorney General has already communicated to Parliament through the Table Office on these bills and instruments. However, there are other bills that require urgent attention during this meeting, and these include, and I must emphasize this one, the Affirmative Action Bill. Honourable members, it's long been in the back burner, and I think Ghanaians can no longer wait. The duty to pass laws rests on Parliament, not on the executive. In whatever form that bill is, please, I call on the agencies to present it to the House. Whatever the situation, the relevant committee will have to invite the same stakeholders to appear before the committee before the report is presented. So the long delay of the Affirmative Action Bill is giving a disastrous blow to our program of empowering our better halves and getting them, if not to equal us, but at least to be able to support us to deliver the goods. The representation of women in this House is nothing to write home about. Many African countries have gone up to the 30% and beyond, and we are still 14.5%, claiming to be a shining example of democratic governance in Africa. And so, for me, this is one of the urgent bills that we have to take on and get it done with. We are also expecting the Aged Persons Bill. And another very critical bill, the Budget Act. I should say bill now, because it's not yet passed. We need to create the opportunity for Parliament to have an early entry into the processes of the budget, and to be able to create the necessary platform to engage for ourselves the expertise that we need to support us to be able to analyze the budgets and support government to do a better job. Each member of Parliament should be able to tell his constituents or her constituents how the constituency will benefit from the budget of every year. We are not able to do that because we don't have the requisite personnel in the House to support members to go through these details. We don't get to know what percentage goes to the benefit of children or women. We don't get to know that. And we need to create that opportunity, and the Budget Act is to support us to do that. Honourable members, I also want to take this opportunity to urge committees to comply with the provisions of the standing orders and report to the House the reasons for the delay in submitting a number of reports on referrals pending before them. Some of these committees, I want to mention them, particularly the Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, Privileges Committee, Subsidiary Legislation Committee, and some sector committees, including the Land and Forestry Committee. We have referred a number of things to you. If you have any challenges, the standing order says you should report back to the House why you cannot submit those reports within the stipulated time. Last session finished without us receiving any such report. And I want to remind you for the second time for you to take action. The Standing Orders Committee may be compelled to take action against such committee members. Honorable members, we were informed long ago that the rent bill and the Ghana Road Authority bill, as well as the local road authority bill, will be before this House. They have yet not appeared. I want to call on the sponsoring agencies to take the necessary steps to present these bills for scrutiny and possible passage by Parliament during this meeting. With this, I want to urge the Business Committee, as well as the leadership of the caucuses, to dialogue more often, using the well-known usual channels of communication in the conduct of business of the House, and come out with proposals to assist the House find solutions to these problems. We must, and I want to plead with members, we must eschew excessive partisanship, demonstrate concern for the plight of the ordinary citizen, and chart the path that will help ameliorate the pain and suffering of the Ghanaian. With these few remarks, I once more welcome you all to the second meeting of the second session of the 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic of Ghana. May God for the... I will now give the opportunity to the leaders to also make their remarks, starting with the minority leader.
Mr. Speaker, I should thank you for the opportunity to make some few remarks in welcoming you, Right Honorable Alban Bagbin, Speaker of Parliament, back to the House, supported by your deputy speakers and members of Parliament, to do to the people of Ghana conscientiously what is right and appropriate in ensuring that we work collectively to improve the quality of life of the Ghanaian. Mr. Speaker, first is to thank God for your life and for the grace of his good health, and to extend same to all our members of Parliament. Welcome back after some visits and stay in our constituencies. And Mr. Speaker, to report that it's not been easy. The suffering of the Ghanaian people even reflect in the suffering of MPs when they are in their constituencies. And I'm sure some had to run out earlier than scheduled because there is increasing cost of living, there is increasing cost of doing business, and I believe that this House must look at some matters of public importance, Mr. Speaker. For instance, Parliament of Ghana. We must allow beyond tottering at the precipice of bankruptcy as a country. And therefore, we must take a decision, and this House should be able to do that. We must cap how much any government, I didn't say this government, should be able to borrow. Don't exceed 70% of GDP, best practice. Especially so when other state resources are collateralized whether it's ESLA or neutralized, including what is contemplated, which would be resisted by us if you attempt to collateralize further, Mr. Speaker, because you cannot endanger the prospects of a future government having access to adequate resources to govern and govern properly when we assume annals of government come early January 25. So be prepared for that, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this morning, I'm sure you also woke up driving here to the major floods in Accra. Few years ago, our colleague Minister Atachia suffered the fate as if you were a non-performing minister when, because adequate resources were not made available for you to deal with the imminent threat of flood. You've seen what is happening. I hope that you were not reshuffled for want of lack of adequate support to deliver. And Mr. Speaker, it reminds me, the leader of government business must remind the President Nana Addo Dankwa, that for the first time, he should show wit and will. He should reshuffle his cabinet, add new impetus to government, and let this country move.
What if he is the cause?
Mr. Speaker, this is a welcome remark. So, colleagues, welcome back to this session of the 42nd sitting of the first meeting of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, there's also the news of declassification of Achimota forests and lands, and public officers and politicians grabbing lands in the name of the Republic. Mr. Speaker, without any hesitation, this must be treated as an urgent matter. The President should open a public inquiry into the declassification of Achimota lands and let the public know who got what, for what, and how much. We need to appreciate that even the reliance on an executive instrument 144 rezoning and reclassification, the mandate was not given to the President, Mr. Speaker. So we would need to welcome ourselves back dealing with this issue. So, Mr. Speaker, we are back. We will support you to deepen accountability and transparency, even as you struggle for financial resources with the clerk. I hear Parliament itself is suffering from some 30% or 50% cuts. And then releases have not been done. Leader, you are smiling. Welcome back. Welcome back. Your flight only threatened you. You managed to survive. So, Mr. Speaker, is to welcome our colleagues back and wish everybody well. I know that they have started in earnest some party elections. Very soon we will follow suit. We wish them well. Except that, Mr. Speaker, our democracy must survive. And we must survive the threat of monetization. On those other matters that you referred to, I wish someday I will share my view on those payroll anomaly that you mentioned, because I have evidence that I was underpaid and overpaid. Mr. Clerk, you have to give me that evidence. But as you bring the matter to closure, I would need to understand that it was an administrative payroll error, which is situated since 1993. Even Auditor General have commented on those issues, but our integrity have been taken to the cleanest, as if, as you rightly said, those acts were done. So, Mr. Speaker, I will request that I have some further clarification on it. So, colleagues, welcome back to the leader and his whips. Show that you are in charge of this house. Don't be struggling for numbers, for major decisions, and be asking Speaker to be postponing and deferring decisions. Anything you introduce here, we should play to it and not wait until somebody thinks he has a +1 or -1 or -2, Mr. Speaker. We should play to the rules. So encourage the President. He should show strength, courage. I know that if you were there, you would have done some reshuffle. Mr. Speaker, on this note, I welcome colleagues back to the House.
Honorable Majority Leader.
Speaker, thank you for the opportunity afforded to make a few remarks. But to begin with, Speaker, let me plead with the minority leader that these are early days yet, and he should not lead me into temptation. The Speaker, let me also add my voice to welcome colleagues back to this House after a rather short recess period. I want to believe, and indeed I do hope, that we have had sufficient recovery during the recess to enable us to transact the business that is before us, a rather tall order, Mr. Speaker, that you have mentioned. Mr. Speaker, as you all do recollect, the first session was most eventful. There were lots of turbulence, but at the end of the day, we all did overcome the turbulence and landed rather safely. Mr. Speaker, the House, on most occasions, was full. And it was full because of the anticipations of the time. I want to believe that now that we've been able to overcome the rumble strips, this meeting would also see similar high attendance. The Speaker, you related to a platform that you want to create for some academics and civil society operatives to interrogate the rulings from the Supreme Court insofar as they relate to Parliament. Gives me a lot of discomfort. I have no idea who the civil society operatives are or who the members of the academia are. One can only hope that the persons nominated are going to present a very balanced analysis and not yield to any other temptations to come and disparage the Supreme Court. A very contentious issue is now saturating the environment. It has to do with the declaration of assets. And you rightly mentioned it. Speaker, the assets that are declared by our Constitution in Article, I think, 285 or 286, have to be lodged with the Auditor General. The Speaker, the rationale for this is for the Auditor General to interrogate assets acquired by public officers. Unfortunately, the construct of the Constitution is such that once they are lodged with the Auditor General, he himself is disabled from opening the assets so declared to ensure that people who have acquired assets respond to their tax liabilities. It's the reason why the assets are lodged with the Auditor General. For whatever reason, our own Constitution treads a different path. Deposit it with the Auditor General, and that's the end of it. Mr. Speaker, I believe we have to look at the Constitution again insofar as it relates to assets declaration. And, Mr. Speaker, come to think of it, Article 286(5) lists the public officers who must submit to the assets declaration. Mr. Speaker, curiously, some notable officers are left out. For instance, the Council of State. They are not there. Serious Fraud Office. They are watchmen in the system. The Special Prosecutor. Former Serious Fraud Office. Yoko. Now, Mr. Speaker, they are watchmen in the system. We should have a system to watch the watchmen. And yet the Constitution does not require them to submit themselves to this. Even now, the MMDCs, they are not there. We all know what is happening. So, Mr. Speaker, we need to have a second look at the Constitution. That is Article 286. And I'm not too sure whether 286 is an entrenched provision. But if it's not, then, Mr. Speaker, what it means is that Parliament can certainly attend to it. Yes, Article 286, Code of Conduct for Public Officers. Unfortunately, it's entrenched. It's entrenched in 286. The Speaker, Parliament could add to it, and that is 286 5J. The same issue will play out. Remember when we said we should add to a provision, people were saying backdoor. The same affliction would apply to this. Where do we go? The Speaker, is one of the reasons why some of us are calling for a holistic review of this Constitution. It served its purpose, but I think that we must now look at that and then see what we need to do. The Minority Leader raises a very important matter with respect to the borrowing powers of any particular government. Mr. Speaker, I agree with him in principle that we should restrict governments from overborrowing. But for him to tell us that we can decree or make a law to say, for instance, that we can't go beyond 70%. What if you come, then you hit 69% from 50%, and you say the next government should not go beyond 70%? What's the rationale behind that proposition? Perhaps we could relate it to a percentage of the GDP, to say that maybe you cannot borrow more than 5% of GDP at a particular time. Let's say for a 4-year period, or maybe 6% over a 4-year period. That, in my view, will be much more meaningful than saying to us that let's apply a slide rule. You can't go beyond 70%. So you will get to 69.5%, and the succeeding government cannot go beyond 70%. We can have to apply some defined percentage, and Parliament is capable of doing that. Mr. Speaker, what does it mean? If government cannot overly borrow, then government must look inside to raise funds to develop the country. And yet, when there's an e-levy, you have an opposition creating a gridlock. How do you want government to raise resources? Mr. Speaker, the Minority Leader is saying that we should sell cola. I'm quoting him. Mr. Speaker, yes, today I just returned and into some flats overnight. Mr. Speaker, we need really to, as a Parliament, be informed about the causes, especially in Accra. The other day, when Professor Frimpong, in his capacity as the Minister for Environment, made a profound presentation of the flooding situation with the least downpour in Accra, it was most informative. Mr. Speaker, I want to pray that we create a platform for Parliament to be so informed and educated, so that when we have bills coming before us, and I realize that for this meeting, we're going to have to deal with the concept of appropriate land use and spatial planning. So, Mr. Speaker, it is a Herculean task for all of us, and indeed up to our responsibilities. Finally, just to add a little bit to what the Minority Leader related to, that is the conduct of internal primaries for political parties. So, Speaker, I agree with him that as we move along, increasingly we are overly monetizing our politics. I keep saying that there's nobody in politics who is a Father Christmas or a Mother Christmas. If you twist his hands to make any payments of cola or drinks or whatever, he will live tomorrow to reap his harvest. So let's come together as political parties to cure this mischief. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, we are treading on very slippery ground. And people sooner rather than later may lose confidence in this democratic experiment. Democracy is supposed to yield good dividends that will endure to the benefit of the people governed, not those governing. Let's live up to our responsibility. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the space granted. And once again, I welcome colleagues.
Let me, on behalf of the House, thank the leaders for their remarks. But before I move to the next item, it's important I correct some wrong impression that has been created from my remarks. I never stated in my remarks that many disagree with the decision of the Supreme Court. No. I said we may disagree with those decisions, but we are bound by them, and we have to comply and obey. The platform that is being provided is not to interrogate the rulings or judgments of the Supreme Court. I said that we cannot, as a House, review our laws, our rules and standing orders alone. We need other stakeholder inputs. And so what I said is that consequently, in consultation with the leadership of the House, Parliament has decided to create a platform for our partners in academia, legal and governance practitioners to lead a more focused, detailed discussion on the implications and effects of the decisions on the practice and procedure of Parliament and the relationship between the judiciary and the legislature, and then all together. And so, please, our partners in the media, do the right reporting and don't be misled by those remarks. With this, I want to draw the attention of honorable members to the presence of distinguished visitors who are at the right position, the Distinguished Visitors Gallery. And these distinguished visitors are being hosted by us, and they are from the Republic of Zambia. To be specific, the National Assembly of Zambia. They are here on a benchmarking visit to try to learn from us and share their experiences and knowledge of this House. Honorable members, they are being led and have the pleasure to introduce her by the Right Honorable Ms. Nelly Muti. She is an MP and the Speaker of the National Assembly of Zambia. Right Honorable, yes. So the National Assembly of Zambia is being led and presided over by a beautiful lady. With her are other colleague members of Parliament who have joined her to come to learn with their colleagues, from their colleagues here. And they want to go into the in-depth working of Parliament, particularly the Parliament of Ghana. The visit is also to create the platform for networking. And so we expect that we use the Friendship Association to create one friendship association between the Republic of Ghana or the Parliament of Ghana and the Parliament of Zambia. In fact, the National Assembly of Zambia, because their parliament is different from our parliament. Their parliament includes the president, but the national is without the president. And so we have to learn from each other and see how we could further improve and deepen the cordial relationship between the two countries. The members of parliament accompanying here are 5 in number, and I will just, with your kind permission, mention their names and positions. The first is Honorable Brian Mundubile. He is a member of parliament and the leader of the opposition. The second, the Honorable Haruna Idrisu is not a leader of the opposition. He's a minority leader. He's a minority leader, he's not leader of the opposition. There's a vast difference between the two. We must get the concept clear. He's not here to oppose. He's here to give alternative views and opinions that will convince the good people of Ghana to give him the opportunity to be in government, not to oppose government. Yes, it's because I was there that I know. Honorable members, the second person is Honorable Stanford Mulusa, who is a member of parliament and the government chief whip. We also have 3 other members of parliament. I have not been given their positions. We have Honorable Stephen Yongo, a member of parliament, and we have Honorable Machila Zamba. And the third member of parliament is Honorable Nixon Chilangwa. They have with them the usual patriotic and hardworking members of staff, led by the acting clerk, but the substantive deputy clerk of administration, Mr. Roy Ngulube. We also have the executive assistant to the Honorable Speaker, in the person of Mr. Sage Samuwika, and the executive assistant to the clerk. I hope you are hearing the terminology. Executive assistant to the clerk, Mr. Barnabas Bualua. I'm sure you all recall the name. Mwemba Mungo. And the principal clerk in charge of public and international relations, Mr. Stephen Kawumbi. The last but not the least is the Speaker's aide-de-camp in the person of Miss Caroline Selinga. Maybe because I use the term Miss, some of you may think that she is available. On behalf of the members of parliament, the staff, and the whole institution of parliament, I warmly welcome you to Ghana. Please kindly take time to move around the country to at least experience the proverbial hospitality of the Ghanaian and very important tourist sites that will deepen further your love for our country, Ghana. Once again, you are welcome. Honorable members, also important, I inform you that tomorrow we'll be receiving a very important guest in the House. We'll be receiving the President of the Republic of Mozambique, His Excellency Felipe Jacinto Nyusi. I'll be receiving on your behalf, and you'll be ushered in here to deliver an address. His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana has written to us to accord him that opportunity. We are expecting him to be here by 10:15 tomorrow morning. All honorable members are expected to be seated latest by 10 a.m., where we'll the members of our board, a former majority leader of this House, a well-known Honorable Abraham Osei Edu, lost the wife recently. We were there on your behalf to sympathize with him, and we are seeing all what we can do to support the family. The funeral arrangements have been made, and the funeral will take place on the 23rd of July, 2022. Secondly, and I'm sure some of you might have heard of it, and in fact some of you have participated in some of the activities, our minority leader, who I insist on is minority leader, no leader of opposition, lost his brother. That was another sudden and shocking event. The late Afa Abukari Wolbogu was the senior brother to our minority leader. I think just yesterday they observed the Sunday, yes, yesterday, right? Oh, 2 days ago, today is Tuesday. They observed the 7th day, and there was a delegation from this House together with the clerk and some staff to participate in the events for and on behalf of this House. I want to officially convey the sincere condolences to the two bereaved families and to assure them of the full participation of the institution of Parliament. Honorable members, with this, I'm sure we can now move on, and that those of you who find time, please try to be part of these funeral ceremonies. Honorable leaders, any guidance?
Speaker, if we will have the presentation of the business statement for the week.
Honorable members, now, before we go to the presentation of the business report, we will have to do the usual thing of the correction of votes and proceedings and official report. I thought maybe there was something else that I could say before going to do that. And so we'll start with the Votes and Proceedings of Tuesday, 5th April 2022. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Yes, Honorable Ablakwa.
Most grateful, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, please at item number 9 on page 11, the Ministry for Communications and Digitalization has been captured wrongly. Digitalization should be amended. DIGITA and not TI. So if a correction could be made accordingly. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Table office kindly take note. Page 12. Page 13. Yes, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Page 13, under E, we have the investigative report of the Committee on Youth, Sports and Culture on the abysmal performance. Performance is supposed to be small p, not capital P.
Honourable Member, thank you for drawing our attention. Please, table office, take note.
That's the title of the report of the committee. You can take on initial house.
Then abysmal should have been initial A. It's okay. Page 14. Page 15. Page 16. Yes, Honourable Blackwell.
Right, Honourable Speaker, please, the table at page 16, the get fund formula, when you add the percentages, it doesn't come to 100. I got 99.99. Considering that all the decimal points have been indicated, I want to believe that there is an error somewhere. So if it can be retallied, I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Please, table office, take note. Have a look at the report submitted by the committee, and then in discussion, get the right rendition. So as I say, liaise with the committee and get the proper thing rectified. Page 17. Page 18. Page 19. Yes, Honourable Blackwell.
Right, Honourable Speaker, your guidance will be required. I observe that when it comes to capturing those who move and those who second. The movers, their positions are captured. That is the chairman of the committee. But when it comes to the seconders, we only have by the honorable member for Dududio, Mr. Edwin Nilante. Wonderful. He's a ranking member. I noticed that consistently the ranking members are not, their positions are not recognized or acknowledged. It's only the chairman. I don't know if that is what the practice should be, or we to acknowledge that they are not just members of the committees, but they are ranking members, just as we do for the chairman. And I see that running through even for the health committee as well. The chairman is captured. That's at page 23, and then the subsequent pages. But the ranking members, we only have, for example, Mr. Kwabena Minta Kando, member for Joaboso. We do not acknowledge their position as ranking members. I do not know if that is a practice or it will be corrected subsequently.
Well, honorable member, you are right. I think that the titles should be added to the ranking and the other teachers or whatever. That should be added. Whether the person is also a whip or deputy whip or leader, it should be added so that the description is complete. There should not be any disparity or discrimination in this matter. The table office is blind when it comes to these things. Page 20. Page 21. Page 22, page 23, page 24. Yes, honorable member.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Page 24, item 26. The amount in figures is supposed to be 2,919,000, but there's a dot in between the 9 and the 6. There's supposed to be a comma to reflect to agree with the amount in words. If you look at between the 9 and 6, we're supposed to have a comma to reflect what we have in words, but there's a dot there.
Yes, you have eagle eyes, so you were able to see that it is a dot and not a comma. We are grateful, Honorable Isifu Seidu. That is the member for Gambaga. Am I right?
Nalergu Gambaga.
Nalergu Gambaga. Thank you so much. Please, table office, take note. Page 25. Yes, please.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful. Once again, the table, the additions, the arithmetic doesn't add up. The percentages for the formula for the National Health Insurance Fund for the year 2022. Mr. Speaker, when you do the math, you get 99.96 and not 100%, as has been captured. So, if it can be corrected accordingly, Mr. Speaker.
Again, table office, get in touch with the committee and get the right rendition. captured in the report of the committee and also on the order paper, the votes and proceedings. Page 26, page 27, page 28, page 29, page 29, yes?
So, Right Honourable Speaker, at page 29, the second paragraph, as you have directed, the same correction for the ranking member for Agriculture, Food, Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs Committee, Mr. Eric Opoku.
Yes, table office is a standing directive and it should be reflected at all times. Page 30, page 31, page 32, page 31, sorry, Honorable Seidu.
Thank you. Right Honourable Speaker, with your permission, I want to refer to page 30 instead. Page 30, the second paragraph. We have, in accordance with the provisions of the said Article 1815 of the Constitution. I think there's supposed to be a comma here before we continue the sentence.
Yeah, you are right. I may want to add, after you draw our attention, that some of these minor punctuations and the rest, the attention of the table office be drawn and it be done outside correction of votes and proceedings. Or else we will always spend hours just trying to edit what they've done already. Yes, after the word constitution, there should be a comma. Honourable members, page 31, page 32, page 33, page 34, page 35, page 36, page 37, page 38, page 39, page 40, page 41, page 42, page 43, Honourable members, in the absence of any further corrections to the votes and proceedings of the 42nd sitting held on Tuesday, 5th April 2022, the said votes and proceedings are hereby adopted as the true record of proceedings of that day. We now move on to the official reports. And I have in my possession the official report of Tuesday, 15th March 2022. Any corrections? Yes, Honourable Blackwell.
I'm going to get to Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, please at column 5, the head note RTI should be corrected. And at column 7, Mr. Speaker, the year 2022 RTI requests, the 2 has been omitted, the first 2. So we have 022 instead of 2022. And then in the last line on that paragraph, if institutions as of end of January 2022, we need a space between off and January. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Well noted, Honourable Member. Table office, take note. Yes, Honourable.
Mr. Speaker, I think there are quite a lot of grammatical errors in this report, and I wonder whether I can correct all of them, but I'll try. If you go to page 47, I don't know which column, but under...
You mean paragraph 47?
Paragraph 40.
Or column 47? Column 47?
Yes.
Yes.
I take this, last week I was at the dump site at home, and I was mortified to realize that over 70% of those speakers, the handlers, were mostly women. That area has to be looked at carefully. Mr. Speaker, I believe you should read, I will consult the acting honorable minister, not I would. And then Honorable Minister of Gender and Children and Social Protection, so that we can find ways to help those women. And then if you come to column 50, and I read, those plastics are mostly single-use, not single-used, and under 20 microns. And again, still under 50. Instead of, and that has been, this mistake has been replicated in several places. So the table of this will take note. Most of them refers to models, not module. So in this particular instance, I read, we will help the private sector to be able to pick it by retooling the economic model, not module, so that it makes financial sense for them to pick it up. And again, I believe that the grammatical error, we will come with a system, not would. And then, so I will take it on. We'll come with a system that will make it viable for plastic money to be invested in it, so that the large dregs of plastics. Mr. Speaker, when you go to column 52, again, there's a reference to circular economy. It's not circular as in the religious sense. It's circular, CIRCUL, is like, it emanates from a circle. So we'll reuse and reuse and reuse. So it's circular. And it's been replicated in several places. I think these are the errors that I find for now. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Member, thank you so much. We've taken note of it. Table office kindly draw the attention. In the absence of any federal as created, is adopted to represent the true records of proceedings. Honourable members, we now move to I on the order paper. Item 5 on the order paper. And that has to do with the business statement of Chairman of the Business Committee. Yes, Honourable Chief Whip.
Speaker, I seek your leave to present a statement on behalf of...
Yes, Minority Friend Bench.
Mr. Speaker, he is a member of the Business Committee, and per our rules, he qualifies to present the report on behalf of the Chairman.
Honorable Chief Whip for the majority, you may go on.
(2022). The Speaker myself to just some portions. Speaker, as the House may be aware, this second meeting is expected to be demanding of bills. Parliamentary business will be considered. We have 69 bills that may be presented to Parliament. Equally, about 700 are unadmitted. And indications are that since members have now returned, and as usual after interaction with their constituents, we will be prepared. President Felipe Jacinto of this Honourable House, and as such, we are entreating members to show up in their numbers and on time to participate in the event. Admit statements, papers may be laid, motions may be moved, and their consequential resolutions may be taken. Speaker, in conclusion, I herein present the business statement for the Business Committee. There are other attachments which has indicated detailed programs which has been earmarked for the days earmarked accordingly. Speaker, I shall present the business statement. Thank you.
Honorable members, the business statement has been presented. It's now available for comments by members if necessary. Yes, Honorable Atuforson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm making reference to the business statement on page number. There are no pages. So, Mr. Speaker, there is before the item 2. It's not page. It's not page. So probably it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you count it from the front, you get page 4. Page 4, item C, the first item. The Speaker, the C says that this Honourable House adopt the report on the Finance Committee on the annual public debt management report for 2020 financial year. The Speaker, this was laid in Parliament as far back as April 2021. Parliament debated it in November 2021. The Speaker, as we speak, we've not been able to get this particular motion off the way. The Speaker, again, per the Public Financial Management Act, Ministry of Finance had to lay the public debt report for the year 2021 at the end of first quarter 2022. Speaker, first quarter is long gone. We do not have the annual public debt report for 2022, for 2021. Speaker, just last Friday, the Bank of Ghana, as part of the Monetary Policy Committee report, said to all of us in a press statement and a release that Ghana's public debt is now 391 billion Ghana cedis, excluding energy sector levies, Sino-Hydro debt, and Speaker, the other one is the Dutch bond. Speaker, if you are to add all of them, our public debt is in excess of 409 billion Ghana cedis. It is at the ceiling, yet the report is not before us to consider it. Speaker, I'm worried about this matter. Because, Speaker, at this stage, the central bank, as a result of our debt levels, had to hike the policy rate to 19%. Inflation is now almost 24%. Almost everything is going down the drain. Speaker, that is why I believe that it is now time for us to consider this debt report urgently. We should call on the Ministry of Finance to bring the 2021 debt report to Parliament for us to debate on it appropriately. We've passed the first quarter. We are in the second quarter, but the debt report is not before us. The Speaker, it is not acceptable. It's against the Public Financial Management Act 2016, and we should call on the Ministry of Finance to act appropriately. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Nochu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on the same page, the business for Wednesday, 25th May 2022. Item IVC, that this Honorable House resolves to amend the Earmark Funds Capping and Realignment Act 2017 Act 947 to delete the Ghana Education Trust Fund from the list of the capped agencies for from the 2023 financial year to enable it to receive enough funds to make the fund operate fully on its mandate to improve upon education and infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, when we were approving the formula for GET funds on the 5th of April this year, this this motion was taken alongside with the formula. It's unfortunately I don't have my copy of the report here, but if you go back, table office can help us. It is there. So this motion, was carried on that day, alongside the approval of the estimates for GET fund. So what is left now is the bill, which the legal department is working on. So there's no need to bring it back for us to take again. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Blackwell.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I thank the Majority Chief Whip for the presentation of the business statement. I accept, Mr. Speaker, to place on record that the papers to be presented, item number 1, Roman numeral IIC, on Tuesday, 24th May 2022. The pages are not numbered, Mr. Speaker, so it's, I think, the penultimate page. Item number 1IIC, the annual report on the staffing position of the Office of the President for the period January to December 2021. It is important to place on record, Mr. Speaker, that the law is very clear. Section 11 of the Presidential Office Act, Act 463. The President has 3 months to present this report to Parliament. He should not go beyond March in any given year, the end of March. This report is now going to be presented in May, the last week of May. Mr. Speaker, this House should be treated with respect. Our laws should be complied with. You have the whole of January, the whole of February, the whole of March, and then we are in May, end of May, and you are now going to present this report. Mr. Speaker, this practice should not continue, and we need to send respectfully a message to the presidency that they should comply with the laws of the land and they should respect this House, Mr. Speaker, so we can strengthen our democracy and our governance systems. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Agalga.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, the report is not numbered, but on item number 2, Wednesday, 25th May 2022, specifically on motions. Mr. Speaker, if you look at B is that this House adopts the investigative report of the Committee on Defense and Interior on the incident of the military-civilian brutality in Wa. Right Honorable Speaker, this is a matter that was referred to the Committee for Defense and Interior, and we traveled all the way to Wa, investigated the alleged military brutalities that was meted out on the people of Wa and duly prepared a report, and same was laid before this House. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, this report has been in the back burner for far too long. What we sought to achieve by way of recommendations in that report, Mr. Speaker, I am afraid is getting stale. And so, Mr. Speaker, I strongly urge and invite that Mr. Speaker intervenes so that the report is taken and the recommendations duly adapted. Those recommendations, I believe, would go a long way to shaping civil-military relations in our country. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
Yes. Honorable Dafiamako.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to raise some concerns regarding the business statement presented for the week. Mr. Speaker, a careful look at paragraph 3 of the statement on the first page gives some details regarding, for instance, the number of questions that members have filed and been admitted. And the statement actually says that 736 questions so far have been admitted by your good office. Mr. Speaker, this means that even for this meeting alone, starting from today, which has about 12 weeks, every week we need to take about 61 questions before we can exhaust the 736 that's been admitted by you, minus those that will be flowing in from today. So I was hoping that for this week alone, we'll be able to take some questions that have already been admitted and for which the answers may be ready. So it's not likely that even this meeting will be able to deal with those questions that have been admitted. Then, two, Mr. Speaker, I know that there are a lot of private members' motions that have long been admitted and have featured on the order paper heavily during the last meeting. We couldn't take them. And so having resumed work, government business and business of the House is light. My expectations are that those private members' motions would have been quickly dealt with. But they are also not featuring for this week. And when business begins to gather steam from next week, they may feature on the order paper, they may suffer similar fate. So I want to urge the business committee to consider those ones, especially some very topical ones that were supposed to have been taken by members during the last meeting, so that we can deal with those ones quickly before the House gets busier. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, Deputy Minority Leader.
So we are not one in
Thank you, Deputy Whip, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, in your opening remarks, you put the nail right on the head by saying that we must up our game on oversight. You almost declared this meeting or this session as year of oversight. But Mr. Speaker, if I'm to add to what the ranking member on finance said, the specific motion that he quoted on the order paper, clearly, Mr. Speaker, was moved, debated, and it was only left for the debate to be concluded and for the question to be put. And the reason why we could not put the question was that we were scared by the extent of the ballooning nature of the public debt stock. And we thought we could meet with the finance minister and decide as to whether there should be a scale beyond which we cannot be continuing borrowing. Mr. Speaker, the motion, the paper was laid in April 2021. The motion moved on Thursday, November 2021, and we are in 2022, almost 1 year, and there's a new one. So, Mr. Speaker, clearly that is not the only motion. The motion, there are a series of motions. Another one is the one that has been cited by Honorable James Agaga. That is second, and that is not only second. Mr. Speaker, there's a third one. Even the motion relating to those laid by private members on this bench, like you rightly said, they are all on the other paper. They used to appear on the other paper for a week. The following week, they will disappear, they will resurface. Mr. Speaker, clearly the other paper is becoming the agenda. There is no way motions, papers to be laid, and questions appear on the agenda. Then we know that out of this agenda will be taken and be presenting our business in week by week. But if it becomes now the culture of this house that for over 1 year, motions will be moved and appear on the other paper, and the house cannot bring finality to them. So, Speaker, I don't think it will help the ministers to take their work very serious. Mr. Speaker, you also said in the business statement, it is said that committees with referrals must do well to present reports on those referrals. Mr. Speaker, when we were doing the 2021 budget, a case in point was the Minister for Communication, where over 6 years she refused to present annual report on National Communication Authority. The Committee on Communication decided and resolved that without the Minister for Communication presenting the 6 years annual report that she refused to present, we were not going to consider her budget. We therefore suspended the committee meeting. She went to the office and brought 3 of the reports before the committee could go back and consider her budget estimate. Mr. Speaker, after presenting the estimate, the chairman of the communication committee has suffered in being able to organize a meeting to get the minister to come for us to consider the report. Mr. Speaker, if committees of parliament, where we operate the committee system of parliament, committees are giving referrals, and ministers are not presenting themselves to be able to assist the committee in going through those reports. Mr. Speaker, we are in May. Just in 2 months' time, they will be bringing media or budget review. If, Mr. Speaker, the budget review comes and there's something on communication, and the committee now says that without we bringing finality to the annual report of the National Communication Authorities, we are not going to consider the ministers or the sector's estimates. It will be misconstrued as if committees or parliament or minority is sabotaging government work. And so, Speaker, that may not augur well. It is for the essence of check and balances to make sure that we bring duty bearers to be able to account to the public. That is why we operate the committee system. So, Mr. Speaker, if you read the report, I want to plead with you for you, Mr. Speaker, to give a directive, a serious directive to the committees with referrals, that the committee should not just become like a dumping ground. Once there's a referral to a committee, then that ends it. Mr. Speaker, that is very bad. If you look at the business statement today, there are a lot of performance annual reports that are going to be laid. I don't think there are even copies here. And once they are laid and referred to the committees, that ends it. If Parliament gets to that stage, it will not augur well for this country. So, Mr. Speaker, I don't want to belabor the point, but I want to put it to the majority chief whip. Thankfully, you are the one who should make it a duty to make sure that the ministers appear and perform their duties. The statement is here that committees with referrals should do well to present their report. the ministers must avail themselves. I've cited the Committee on Communication. The three of the report, when we said we're not going to consider the minister's budget, she brought three. And those three were that of 2015, 2016, and 2017. So that of 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021 are not even yet presented. And we have not even considered the three that she presented. So we must up our game. So with these few words, Mr. Speaker, I know there are a lot of those motions. As leadership too, let's meet to reconcile those motions and bring finality to them. Then we start from a very good page. With these few words, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge my government chief whip to make sure that the 69 bills that you've spoken of on this statement, I've gone through the other paper, there is no single. In this, there are only two. We have 12 weeks. How are we going to complete 69 bills before end of this? It is not enough to state them. Let's up our game. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, before we proceed, having regard to the state of business of the House, I direct, in retrospect, that sittings be held outside the prescribed period. It's long after 2. If you are interested in continuing, I have to call on the first deputy speaker to take the chair because our distinguished visitors are waiting on me. So, first deputy speaker, kindly take the chair. Yes, Chief Whip for the majority. Any response?
Speaker, let me try and respond to the observations made by members and to some extent some complaints made by members, not according to any order. I think the Honourable Ranking Member for Finance, the Honourable Atufosin, is spot on the matter he raised on the annual public debt report for 2020-2021, which is still outstanding. Not to put out a defense, Speaker, for the fleeting period I've been in this House, I have observed a number of annual reports that have been in arrears. But the lesson out there is that we all need to up our game. So not to stretch the matter further, I want to assure my colleague that we'll work within time, assiduously, to make sure that we dispense of our responsibility creditably. I mean, it casts us in a very bad light in the image of the public when these critical documents are still in arrears and outstanding. So we'll work closely with the table office to come atop the situation and deal with that. The Honourable Member, Ranking Member for Education, your concern is valid. You rarely observe that the document is become redundant. The matter has been dealt with, but there is another flip side, which is still pending. So I'm sure the table office has taken notice, and the matter will be dealt with accordingly. The Honourable Ablakwa's concern, I'm reliably informed by the table office that the document got to this House on the 28th of March, and then it got to the Right Honourable Speaker on the 29th. But eventually, they worked on it, and it came out on the 8th of April. And you also admit that we went on recess. So that all culminated to affect and probably pronounce on the undue delay. So it's also a good observation telling us that we all need to up our game and be observant of the constitutional provisions and the imperatives we have in our laws, the timelines and the timetables that we have, that we all need to respect it. So it's a good observation, and I'm sure that leadership will work and will take a lesson from this so that we don't end up repeating this. The Honorable Dafiamepo laments the barrage of questions, and he shows concern how we'll be able to deal with that. I'm not going to put the experience, the long-standing experience of the table of office in doubt and in question. But if you do the arithmetic, it comes out clearly that on the face value of it, it looks difficult. But I'm sure that let's take it in good stride, one at a time, weekly by weekly, and see how it goes. I'm sure when it becomes necessary that we need to amend in terms of the number of questions that can be dispensed of, the business committee will be advised accordingly, and then we will know what to do. Yes, on the private members' motion, I think leadership have had a course to discuss this matter. That repeatedly private member motions have been advertised on the order paper, and it's almost become redundant. It's repeated. We don't do anything about it. At the last business committee meeting, we had a course to discuss it, and we have said that if we are not ready to take a particular private members' motion, it is needless for us to keep advertising it and putting it on the order paper. So if you look at the business statement for the ensuing week, you realize there's a limited number of private members' motion captured. It's because we want to be quite certain our readiness to take it. There are times that we put them there and leadership thinks otherwise. So it's a good observation, and going forward, I'm sure all of us will be guided accordingly, particularly the business committee. The Honorable Ahmed, my good friend, and his lamentations on referral still pending at committee level. Both of us are in leadership, and you put me on the spotlight when you say the government would have to do more. I want to assure you that we will do more. I think even in Speaker's statement this morning, he touched on committee that he believes have to up their game. So we all need to get closer to our committee leadership. Not just the chairs, the rankings also have a role to play. Let's work together as a team, and where we think that there is a delay, they should step up communication with leadership. The Honorable Minority Chairperson himself is also very active in these matters, so that we'll be able to dispense of the business of the House. But having said that, let's work more as a team. Let's show much more dedication to duty. Let the committee chairs show leadership. The majority leader has often said that the Parliament is as strong as its committees. And the Parliament is a reflection of its committees. So both leadership should get closer to our committee leadership and encourage them. Where they have difficulty, they should let us know, so that together we can deal with these concerns. Speaker, I'm sure I've answered all the concerns to the best of my abilities. Thank you.
Very well, honourable members. The business statement for the ensuing week is accordingly adopted. Should I move to item 6? Yes, Honourable Chief Whip. Item 6.
Speaker, I engage my colleague.
There's no statement admitted by Mr. Speaker before me. So if I be guided by the leadership.
Speaker, by way of guidance, I engage my colleague, and we want to take item 7 and take item 7 AII. Item 7 AII. And Speaker, I'll seek your leave for it to be done by the Deputy Minister for Gender.
session. Very well. At the commencement of public business, item 7, AII.
Work in Fishing Convention 2007.
No, the next one, II.
Cape Town Agreement 2012, CTA of the International Maritime Organization, IMO.
The paper is duly presented. It's referred to the Committee on Roads and Transport to consider and report. We are done with II. We're doing all 7A, I and II?
Yes, indeed, Speaker.
Very well. Then I'll go back to item 7A, I. Yes, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Work in Fishing Convention 2007, number 188 of the International Labour Organization, ILO.
The paper is duly presented. It's referred to the Committee on, is it Agric? Food and Agriculture, yes. It's referred to the Committee. Work in Fishing Convention. Very well. I refer it to Committee on Employment to consider and report. Yes, Honorable Deputy.
Mr. Speaker, I know you are referring it to Committee of Employment because of the International Labour, ILO. Mr. Speaker, per our standing orders, the Committee of Food and Agriculture shall deal with all matters relating to food and agriculture, by fishing falls under agriculture. So if it can be joined, I'll have no problem with that. But to say employment alone, they may not be well versed with all the conventions and the fishing industry, but there may be some conflict of rules. So to be on the safer side, if we can make it joint.
Yes.
Speaker, I know my colleague is speaking out of experience, and I don't doubt his experience. But this is an international convention. I mean, if we should probably just add the leadership of the Committee on Food and Agriculture. That will be right. That I will support. But the entire committee will be laborious.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr.
Honorable Leader. Honorable Deputy Leader. Honorable Deputy Whip. I had given the floor to the Honorable Member for Ho East.
Mr. Speaker, sorry, I didn't look behind. Sorry.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think my colleague, Honorable Deputy Whip, is faster than you recognizing him. Honorable Speaker, I want to agree with the Honorable Deputy Whip, Minority Whip, that members of the two committees should be constituted to look at this convention. It is not only in this parliament that we have this. Even at ECOWAS Parliament, it's a joint committee when it comes to issues of conventions. You add all the committees together to look at it, because expertise from the various committees will not be the same as, and people have their diverse professional background that will be, brought to bear. But if you leave it to only leadership might not, all the leaders, the two leaders might not have, So I want to suggest that you have all the members of both Agric Committee as well as the Social Welfare Committee to look at this. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
I'm also being advised to look at which minister presented the paper before us, the Minister of Transport. So we probably should defer and consider further. and determine the appropriate committee to refer the matter to. Because it's brought by transport, it's on labor organization, it's on fishing. I don't want to refer to all three committees, but I think that we should confer properly and advise. So I'll defer the referral for attend upon the leadership advice. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, at this stage, I think we are in your hands for adjournment.
Yes, Deputy Whip.
Mr. Speaker, as was agreed upon, today we have to close early because of the business of tomorrow, we being able to come here early. And the officers will be arranging the place for tomorrow's program. So I agree with my colleague that we are in your hands.
Very well. Honourable members, the House is accordingly adjourned to Wednesday, 25th May 2022 at 2 o'clock in the forenoon. I'm sorry, at 10 o'clock in the forenoon, 10 a.m.